Finding animals from the Ice Age intrigued many. Others had heard that Tony had found the bones of horses and zebras before, but this discovery made people think of the woolly mammoth. During the gold rush, people witnessed more strange things than just elephant tusks. Miners often stumbled upon unexpected finds beyond the gold they were seeking. Parker saw something that blew his mind, in particular meeting the welcome stranger face to face. Parker Schnabel almost passed out when he saw a replica of the welcome stranger, the largest gold nugget ever found. At that moment, he realized he was half a world away from the Klondike Gold Rush Trail. In Season 4, Episode 2 of Gold Rush, Parker's Trail, Parker was seeking new experiences and opportunities. At the beginning of the show, Parker and his partner Fred Lewis were greeted by Tyler Mahoney, a fourth-generation Australian gold prospector. She opened her truck door to reveal a 2-ton golden boulder across the back seat. The story of the welcome stranger recounts that it was so massive it had to be broken into 3 pieces with a hammer to fit on a bank scale. If sold today, the nugget would be worth approximately $4.7 million at current gold prices. The original welcome stranger was turned into gold bars long ago, but 2 perfect replicas still exist. One is displayed at Melbourne's Old Treasury Building, while the other belongs to descendants of its discoverers. The column, built in 1897 to mark the spot where the nugget was found, still stands in Moleagle. However, neither Parker nor any other modern gold miner discovered it. The Victorian gold rush of the 1850s drew countless dreamers from across Australia and the world to Victoria in pursuit of riches. While some struck it big, most did not find lasting wealth. For 2 Cornish miners, John Deason and Richard Oates, luck changed on February 5, 1869. John Deason was born on Tresco in the Isles of Scilly. When he was 1 year old, his fisherman father drowned, prompting the family to move to Pendeen in West Cornwall. There, he met Richard Oates, who would become his partner. In the 1851 census, both were working in Cornwall's tin mines. By 1853, Deason had moved to Australia, with Oates following a year later to prospect for gold. In 1862, the two settled in Moleagle and worked there for 7 years. Then, in 1869, they made a historic discovery: a massive piece of gold encased in quartz, hidden just beneath the surface of Bulldog Gully. Deason recounted that his pickaxe handle broke while attempting to lift the enormous rock, forcing him to use a crowbar to extract the nugget. It was weighed at the London Chartered Bank in Dunolly, 12 miles away. Because it was too large for traditional scales, the nugget was broken up immediately. While no photographs exist, a drawing was made, and a replica now resides in the Dunolly Museum. Miners in gold-rich areas continue to uncover remarkable finds. Parker Schnabel, a resilient and determined modern miner, has also made significant discoveries. In Season 10 of Gold Rush, an electrifying event occurred during the bustling activity of the digging season. The electrified nugget was uncovered, thrilling Parker, his team, and fans alike. The nugget weighed approximately 41.8 ounces and featured a dendritic crystal pattern resembling lightning bolts, earning it its name. Its unique characteristics made it a rare natural wonder, increasing its value beyond its weight in gold. As the season unfolded, Episode 15, titled $1 Million Payday, showcased this exciting find and highlighted Parker's ongoing quest to expand his business and unearth even greater treasures. The explosive nugget adds a brilliant chapter to Parker's history of gold mining. Its market value is high because it is hard to find and has a beautiful crystal structure. It will always be remembered as an important and memorable gold rush find. The bounty at Eureka Creek. Parker set out on a dangerous adventure at the start of Season 7 of Gold Rush. He learned about how hard the mining business is by dealing with problems like broken equipment, unstable gold yields, and the risks of unexplored terrain. Even so, he wasn't going to give up. He invested in cutting-edge technology and tweaked his business to meet his challenges and make a huge recovery. Around the middle of the season, there was a big change, and watchers saw Parker's work at Eureka Creek start to pay off. After that, there was a long period of impressive gold recovery, which is where the name Eureka Creek Bounty comes from. The peak of this reward was reached in episodes like Eureka Payday and King in Klondike. Parker always found a lot of gold, going above and beyond what fans expected and what he had found before. It was impossible to hold back their happiness as the team enjoyed the results of their hard work and persistence. One thing that makes the Eureka Creek Bounty unique is that it was a turning point. Parker's constant success in finding gold in the area made him a leader in the tough world of gold mining. Because he kept having success, he was able to move his business to other places and buy better technology and tools. Even though Parker has found a lot of gold, he is still losing money. Since he started working as a miner at 16, he has lost a lot of money. Let's look at some of the losses he has faced. Parker and his team went through a huge $3 million loss. They put a lot of money into an area in Alaska, and then got 108 ounces of gold from the waste that old gold miners left behind. But what really made things better was an area called the Wolf Cut. It was untouched land that was thought to have more than 2,000 ounces of gold, and be worth more than $3 million. They even called this Wolf Cut the most important pit of the season because of how much information it gave them. Parker's crew needed 2 months just to get to the pay layer of the cut because the area is so deep. Things don't always go as planned, though. A terrible flood a few weeks ago turned the Wolf into a lake. Because it was so hard, Parker thought it would be better to take all the money and go to Vegas than to drown in the Wolf Cut. Parker, who was known for being stubborn, wouldn't just give up the place. After some trouble, the team was able to push back the water, and Mark Force, who was in charge of the operation, finally came down to get the treasure. Parker was keen to find out if there was enough gold for them to risk everything. He went to one spot and moved the dirt around, but it needed to be better. He finally found some fine dirt in another part of the cut, which meant there was gold there. Parker chose to go to work and come back in 2 days with the crew. But just when it looked like everything was going to plan, and they were going to get some gold, something shocked the whole crew. There was a hole in the wall, and mud and water were pouring out of it. It was clear that Mother Nature was not on their side that day. The water they thought they had gotten rid of was back, but this time it was stronger and a bigger problem than before. People on the crew didn't think this would happen. The Wolf Cut could be filled with water again, which would mean a big loss. An excavator hit the side of the pit while digging for pay at the bottom of the cut. This revealed a mine shaft that was full of water, which flooded millions of gallons of water back into the pit and filled the pay grounds. There was nothing wrong with the crew's preparation, they just needed to be more ready. They had one 8-inch pump, but they needed more to get the job done. The second pump was turned on, but it didn't make a big difference. There was still water coming in from all sides. The team lost the battle against the water. After they turned on both pumps, they had no choice but to take the pump out of the wash plant. It was such a big choice, and Parker should have made the call. The problem was that he wasn't there or answering his phone. They were in a tough spot. The area would flood if they didn't pull the pump from the wash plant to help the other 2 pumps, and they would lose their pay in the Wolf Cut. It would be hard to believe how much would be lost. Tyler made the tough choice to turn off the wash plant and remove its pump, which doubled their ability to drain. They had to leave the area while the pumps did their thing. In 24 hours, the pumps took away 10 million gallons of water. Parker finally came back, and he was very excited to see the first edit of the Wolf Cut. Instead, people told him stories about the flood that had happened. Now, Parker's trouble with water was still going on, though in a different story. He came into contact with water again when his mining ground in the Wolf Cut was taken over by water. Underwater, Parker was looking for a pay streak in the 4-acre Wolf Cut on his Alaskan claim. He hoped that it would bring him at least $1,000 this season. The pay dirt was 30 feet below, and the team had to dig out 1,000 yards of extra material to get to it. 4 feet more, and they would be below water. After that, it would be 30 feet before they hit rocks. But things weren't really fine as they seemed at first. The process was going on right next to a pond, and water would be the first thing that would go wrong if something went wrong. Frozen mud was the best option because it kept the water out. Recruit John Bodra was told to deal with the mud and keep the water out. But it looked like the cut was pretty wet, so they had to call their boss. If not, things would go badly if they did. It turned out that the mud got worse and spread faster as they opened up more areas. They still hadn't even cut out a fifth of the area. The wolf cut is next to a pond that is pretty old. There was only a small berm between them, not strong enough to stand up to the water pressure if it was messed with. They dug down and found frozen ice that stopped the water from getting in. The permafrost was broken, which now lets pond water seep through the wall and flood the cut. The area would soon have a lot of water if they let it keep going. There was a need for action to save the day. They thought getting a pump would be the best thing for them to do to fight the water. Parker planned to dig a sunk pond in the cut that was as deep as it could go, and put in an 8-inch pump to drain it. He was not going to lose another water fight. After setting it up, they had to wait until the next day. Their plan as a whole was good, and seemed like it would work. But how did they choose a pump to drain water that big from a pond without first making sure it works, and fixing any problems it might have? The next day, everyone on the team walked outside to see their perfectly dry and ready to mine wolf cut. But they were about to get a bad surprise. They couldn't find their pump anywhere. It looked like the pump was gone, and instead of a cut that was completely dry, they found a lake. The pump had terrible problems filling the cut and putting the pump 4 feet below the water. $500,000 were about to slip through their hands. The pump was so deep that they couldn't even walk up to it. Tyson had to pull a small kayak out with the chain and the excavator to get the pump to dry ground where they could work on it. Mark Force, the foreman, said that the debris was blocking the suction filter at the end of the hose, which caused the water level to rise and cover the whole pump. To make sure that more flooding wouldn't hurt the pump, he had to take the engine apart and repair it. Parker has shown that he is not easily upset by losses. In fact, he's had a lot of them. In spite of everything, he did something that shocked both miners and fans, putting an end to a season with $14 million in gold. Parker Schnabel and his team were starting a season that might change everything about gold mining. When it was really outside, the risks went up because every shovelful of dirt could make or break their dream. As soon as the season began, there was a sense of urgency, and Parker worked around the clock to coordinate his team's attempts to find the valuable material. The difficult conditions in Alaska were not taken lightly. They put their mental health to the test. They were determined to find their prize, even though the terrain was dangerous, and some of the tools they were using didn't work right. Parker had to carefully plan every move because he was in charge of this determined group. His leadership skills stood out, had been honed over the years through failures and successes. Expectations were high, but he didn't let that stop him from leading his team through the dangerous terrain. He was motivated by the belief that the Klondike held the key to a life-changing fortune that, when found, would make all of their problems seem small. They finally made progress after a long time, when they found a rich seam that went on and on below the frozen ground. It was impossible to contain the excitement in the mine camp when they found a way to do it, and a large deposit of gold that would make their whole season different. After a string of setbacks and dashed dreams, the Klondike finally gave up the treasure it held. The huge job of getting the gold out of the frozen ground was still to be done, and Parker was in charge of it. Good news gets around quickly, and this finding did too. The news spread like a blaze through California, getting the attention of both supporters and opponents of mining. Parker and his group were put in the spotlight, and everyone was watching to see how the process would go. This put a lot of pressure on the crew. It looked like they might get $1 million haul. The crew had to race against time as winter got colder. This was another thing that would determine their success. The process of mining sped up, and heavy equipment was used to dig up the gold-filled dirt. When they worked together, it was amazing and shocking. Things were found in the gold room where they kept their loot. Parker's team couldn't believe it when he revealed their take. $14 million worth of gold. Miners, fans, and skeptics alike were all amazed by this incredible feat. This season of Gold Rush will always be remembered as one of the best in Klondike history. Parker earned $364,000 in gold after getting a rookie operator to move Lucifer. Despite his accomplishments, Parker faced a daunting challenge. His project owed a staggering $15 million, and he didn't know how to get out of this mess. There were daily costs and pressing repairs that needed to be done. Some hope lay in the idea of getting a $160 million payday in the Dominion, but many unknowns clouded the path forward. Parker admitted the whole ordeal was making him feel pretty worried. For the first time in years, he felt uneasy. Fortunately, he wasn't alone. His team would be there for him no matter what. To save the operation, Tyson took on everything. He got permission to use the mine from Ken Tatlow and Stuart Schmidt, and then began the impossible job of turning things around. No one expected the first cut to be so bad, and it took much longer than anticipated. As soon as Parker realized how critical it was, the pressure rose. He believed Tyson would step up soon. Parker's determination stayed strong even as preparing the new spot proved difficult. He mentioned that while working on El Dorado, he thought he had a lot of time, but as he prepared the next plant pad, he realized how little time was left. As Parker dealt with the challenges at El Dorado, everyone wondered if his unwavering determination would see him through tough times and help uncover the gold stores that could make his mining project a success. Both Parker and Tyson were heavily involved in El Dorado. Moving the wash plant at the El Dorado cut was a massive task that marked pivotal moments in Tyson's journey. They had everything they needed except time, because the process had to be completed by a specific date. The deadline for this job was Sunday, and its successful completion would ensure their survival. The plot became a tangled mess of money problems, practical challenges, and the relentless search for a jackpot at Dominion. Financial struggles added another layer of difficulty to the story. The operation, already a financial puzzle, carried the looming threat of mounting bills and operational costs. As I watch them, I can't help but wonder, will this bold move help them find the gold mines they were searching for, or will it prove to be a disastrous misstep on the chaotic road ahead? Gold mining. At some point in this nail-biting story, you couldn't help but wonder, would Parker Schnabel's huge risk pay off? Or would his growing financial responsibilities and practical problems make it impossible for him to reach his goal of finding a gold mine? Dominion is a world where gold rules, and fortunes can change in an instant. Parker Schnabel found himself in a very bad spot. Now is the time for the dream of the unreachable gold to change. Along with it came hard times financially. So the business could stay open, the heat had almost made this area its home. It makes me wonder what it's like to be ruled over. The answer is as easy as the question, but it beautifully describes the harsh conditions these miners have to work in every day. The word Dominion means sovereign, and the people who are looking for treasure buried in its land often tell it what its rules are. Another look at the area points to the harshness that is hidden by the light. Parker and his team's determination should definitely be praised. Recently, the weather has gone up, which has raised the bar for what is acceptable. This seemingly normal talk showed how hard these people's lives were. They had to work from dawn until dusk in the hot sun. The next step was to slow there, but that wasn't official yet. As the thought of starting the SL lowing process set in, there was a sense of excitement in the air. After some time, they said that sling wouldn't happen because they needed to get better at it first before moving the business. The team was eager to start sling, but first, they had to make some strategic choices. There was a lot of tension in the gold mining business because who was making efforts to make things run more smoothly, set a hard goal. As the order echoed through the mining site, the story unfolded quickly. Wanted the plant to begin buzzing before morning. The attention then turned to Tyson, whose scary job it was to move Slur around on a pole that wasn't stable. Tyson had to make up Slur out of a leaning stick he had lying around. The language used made it clear that the business was sloppy and rushed, even if no one knew how to make learning staff. Putting pressure on Tyson became an important part of the story, a major source of tension that gave the story more depth. To move this Lucifer, you had to have a steady hand and a lot of skill that you learned over time. Tyson had to deal with the lack of experienced hands while working on a tough job. Alec and Liam helped out the last time, and it looked like they were going to drag Lucifer while Evan Tots, who was just an operator and didn't know how to move a wash plant, moved Lucifer. The moving of the wash plant was complicated by the fact that parts had to be slung up to the slur and then pulled down to the new pad by the 750. The main reason it was hard to do was because changing wash plants was hard to do when there were already few hands available. As Tyson and Evan took on the job of moving the pieces of slow fur to its new location, the story took an interesting turn. It wasn't just a jump that was being planned. It was a symbolic risk in the dangerous world of gold mining. Once Lucifer was taken apart piece by piece, sharing could be seen as both a risky move and a game of chance. People who watched this story grow as a dynamic journey had to think about what would happen with the operation and the luck that was going on at the same time. Everything that was done in the world of gold mining had the power to change the whole course of the season, even Slur's seemingly random jump. The 45-ton wash plant slur, which held the promise of $364,000 in gold, hung over their heads. Tyson and his team had to carefully move Slur so that the process would go as planned. To get to its new wash plant pad, Slur had to go up a steep ramp, which was hard to do because of the environment. Tyson used the 750 excavator, which was the best one on site at the time, to help carry the heavy Lucifer up the hill, because he knew it was a period piece. As the story goes on, there is an amazing scene of bravery as they try to get around their opponent, but behind it all is the dangerous operation. The shot was tense because of the way the land was angled and how rude the Washington plant was. The wash plant started to slowly but surely rise, because Tyson knew how to use everything he had at the time. Strategic way, from the first few steps toward the wash plant, you could feel the stress in the story, and Tyson's main point made the already difficult task even harder. He said that his bucket would be used as a small wrench. He talked about how you need to be able to adapt and be creative when you run into problems you didn't expect. At this point, everyone is almost in pain from the fight and can feel the strain of the hard mental and physical work that needs to be done to get the Lucifer where it needs to be. Tyson's smart use of the bucket as a makeshift crowbar showed how important it was to be able to think quickly and change to survive in the unpredictable world of gold mining. So, the operation as a whole relied on the team, and how well they did in this last stage was crucial to achieving the overall goal of a successful season in the Dominion. If this last step is completed successfully, not only will the difficult task be over, but Parker Schnabel will also have the chance to reach his big season goal. The team's ability to deal with the difficulty of this important configuration determined whether the whole operation succeeded or failed. As soon as the work was done, the wash plant set firmly on the pad, giving everyone a sense of readiness and accomplishment. The construction of the conveyor and the hopper feeder was a big deal in and of itself. It was a clear sign that gold processing was about to start. After following this high-stakes operation through all of its changes and surprises, I couldn't help but feel satisfied. There was a promise of gold worth $364,000 off in the distance. The problems were solved, and now everyone was waiting for the next part of Parker Schnabel's story. This move changed everything for Parker. It could get him a big payday and help him beat the challenges of gold digging in Dominion. After finding $364,000 in gold, he was making smart decisions like letting a new operator move the Slucifer, which was the most important job. Using Slucifer in Gold Rush has had a big effect on the show and the people who watch it. Slucifer's demonstration of cutting-edge technology shows how the gold mining business has changed over time. Time was running out, and every second counted as they looked for the hard-to-find gold that would decide whether the mission succeeded or failed. Parker said he liked how the move was organized. After the rig move, the story went on to look at the day after. Everyone was so eager to hear the result that they stood on edge to listen. They knew that today's machine was the only one that could tell them how productive the whole season had been. The news of the golden sample led to both hope and disappointment. We called that sling. Parker was looking for a 500-ounce endonym to keep his business from going through a lot of trouble. He needed 300 of water a week to get it. For the team, this was the last payment thanks to Parker's vice of 500-ounce season worth $364,000. After that, The count by the number of ounces showed that there was, in fact, a pileup that was different from the group's weekly goal, but still impressive. All right, 20, 40, 60, 70, 110, 120. Eventually, they will discover gold valued at $240,000. Consequently, what strategies did they employ to overcome their obstacles? How did they manage to function amidst severe weather conditions? As we investigate alongside Parker, he discovers gold valued at $24,000 on Tony Beat's claim. How it all began in a brief period of time. Parker Schnabel and his team have never before mined more ground than they do now. Following the completion of a deal with Tony Beats, prior to the conclusion of the season, he must complete the task. Spring is considered the ideal time to set things up. They have resolved to exert maximum effort in the pursuit of completing it prior to autumn, in the hopes of attaining a favorable result. Although the team harbors skepticism regarding their capacity to complete the project within the allotted time frame, they maintain an optimistic outlook. Nana Lovelace affirms that this year's sprint is a complete sprint, as the anticipated completion date is in the spring. A member of the team, Tia Costa, exclaims that the quantity of snowfall they encountered was indescribable, as each surface was blanketed in dense snow that demanded additional exertion to clear. She then transports the frozen overburden to the waste pile in order to make room for additional labor. Following 4 days of operations proceeding as scheduled and equipment functioning flawlessly, the team avidly awaits the verdict of the novel, Tony Beat's claim, not anticipating any adverse consequences. Following the completion of 4 days of machine operation, the team becomes eagerly anticipating the outcome of the new Tony Beat's claim, cognizant of the effort they have invested. As a consequence, the total weight of the gold realized was 137.84 thousand. The group expresses gratitude to Tony Beats and recognizes the possibility of a hectic season. They ponder the difficulties, the readiness of the apparatus, and the promising beginning to the season. Parker concluded by expressing gratitude to the entire team for returning for a second season, for their contributions to the success of the project, for the team's inspection of the used equipment, and for putting in so much effort to ensure the project's success. Gold Rush elevated the profile of the youthful and prosperous gold miner Parker Schnabel to prominence. He was born in Haines, Alaska, on July 22, 1994, into a family with a significant heritage in the gold mining industry. Parker became a member of Gold Rush during its second season at the tender age of 17. Despite his youth, he exhibited remarkable prowess in the field of gold extraction and a diligent work ethic. Parker achieved the distinction of becoming the youngest mining foreman in the history of the Klondike during his time on the program. Since assuming control of the Big Nugget mine from his patriarch John Schnabel, his mining operations have grown. Parker has confronted a multitude of obstacles, encompassing apparatus failures, severe weather circumstances, and the demands of managing a prosperous mining enterprise. Despite earning millions of dollars annually, he does not retain the entire amount for personal use. He employs a team, and while their precise remuneration remains undisclosed, it is probable that they amass a considerable fortune when they unearth substantial quantities of gold over the course of a season. Parker abandoned his studies in favor of excavating with the expectation of uncovering not only a hidden treasure, but also an entire way of living. A substantial quantity of gold was discovered by Parker Schnabel and his team in the second season of Gold Rush. They obtained 34 ounces worth, a total of $55,000. Parker was profoundly affected by this discovery, which motivated him to continue with the program and mining thereafter. Parker Schnabel estimated that the largest fragment of gold he had ever discovered weighed no more than a quarter ounce and was valued at between $400 and $500. He elaborated that it is uncommon to discover gems of that size and that the gold industry has undergone significant transformations since his grandfather began working in it in the 1980s. Parker Schnabel is determined to improve this time around. A depth of approximately 40 feet must be dug by him and his crew in order to discover the gold, but it is expensive. Thousands of dollars must be added to the $15 million that he has already invested in the property. Further, this serves as the initial stage. This season, Parker is confronted with the critical choice that has the potential to alter the course of his mining career. Parker Schnabel aims to surpass his previous record of discovering 5,300 ounces of gold, with a value of $9 million. He is now setting an even more ambitious goal, obtaining 6,000 ounces from the Indian River. Confronting the difficulties of the Klondike, he is resolute and perseverant. A great deal of determination is anticipated from him throughout this thrilling voyage. Audiences have witnessed Parker's leadership, determination, and capacity to make difficult decisions under duress throughout the course of the series. His reputation stems from the fact that he challenges himself and his crew to accomplish lofty objectives. Parker Schnabel, notwithstanding the fluctuations, has emerged as one of the most accomplished and widely recognized individuals in the film Gold Rush. Gold Rush featured a diverse workforce of crew members who were integral to Parker's mining operations. Every member made a contribution that aligned with the initial plan for the project's success. What are your reflections on this particular occurrence of Parker's conquest? Additionally, for more thrilling adventures, please subscribe to our channel and like this video. Continue to be tuned for more.